Just 2 weeks out from the United States midterm elections, President Joe Biden has made a couple of media appearances that have the world talking. In one interview, Biden continues to propose himself as a plausible candidate to run for another term in 2 years' time.
I'm in good health. All of everything physically about me is still functioning well. So, and mentally too. So, I'm a great respecter for fate, of fate. And so, but right now, I feel completely capable of doing the job as well as anybody can do the job. And it's, we'll see.
We'll see indeed. I don't think there's a chance in hell he'll run again. The big question is whether he can see out this term. I spoke with the Hill columnist Kristin Tate and asked her whether she thinks the White House staff must have conniptions every time the president fronts the media.
Yeah, every time the president opens his mouth, his entire team must just be so nervous. It's interesting, his polling tends to go up when he's not really out in front of people because he just always manages to put his foot in his mouth when he's in public talking to people. He seems to basically fall asleep during interviews and forget what he's saying. And it reminds the public that there's something wrong with this president. It might just be old age. It might be dementia. I don't know what it is, but something's not right.
Yeah, it's pretty tough when the leader of the free world does best when he's hiding. I suppose he got elected effectively by sitting in his basement. But let's have a look at some of this interview he gave to MSNBC the other day. And in this pit, he's addressing the issue of whether or not people should be worried about his age.
I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about anyone's age, including mine. I think that's totally legitimate. But I think the best way to make the judgment is to watch me. Am I slowing up? Don't have the same pace as her? And that old joke, everybody talks about the new 70s, 50s, and all that stuff.
That old joke about the 70 being 50, I mean, what is this, Kristin? And are people worried about whether or not he's the man for the job anymore?
Yeah, people are definitely worried about it. Even my friends who are Democrats now, I talk to them and they say, I don't know if I want Joe Biden to run again in 2024 because the guy's not fully there. And, there are some 70, 80, 85-year-olds who are totally with it. Everybody ages at different paces, but Joe Biden really is not aging well. He should be sitting in a nursing home somewhere like in Florida, eating, tapioca, enjoying his life with his grandchildren. He should not be doing this job. He is not mentally fit for the job. But yes, people are very concerned about it. And I think we're going to start seeing some heavyweights in the Democratic Party after the midterms coming out and really aggressively trying to push him to the side ahead of 2024 because the powers that be in the Democratic Party do not want him to run. They want someone younger and more mentally fit.
Yeah, look, I think it's just insane that this is even a talking point, whether or not he runs again. He won't run again. He can't run again. Yeah. He just can't say that now because it makes him a lame duck even before the midterms next month. And this is not ageist. As you say, everybody ages differently. I interviewed our former Prime Minister John Howard on our program only a few weeks ago. He's into his 80s and as sharp and as insightful as anyone, which is wonderful to see. But Joe Biden is struggling, and next month he turns 80, and in this interview he makes a joke with the interviewer about the fact that he can't even say that number. Have a look.
I can't even say the age I'm going to be. I can't even get it out of my mouth. I can't. I mean, I swear to God, it's like, no, come on, that can't be true. And you think I'm joking? You know I'm not joking.
I know you're not joking.
it's just strange.
Yeah. Kristin, this must be a worry for the Democrats, given that the campaigning around the midterms is focusing so heavily on Trump and Biden. Are there concerns that will depress their vote?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of concerns. And, I want to laugh when I see these clips because it's sort of funny, but it's actually really concerning, not just for Democrats, but for Americans generally. This is the leader of the free world, as you said earlier, and he has the ability to destroy this country or make it great based on the decisions he's making. And if the president of the United States is not mentally fit, who's actually making the decisions in the Oval Office? We don't know the answer to that question. Who's actually running this country? It's really scary. So yeah, we're seeing voters on both sides of the aisle in this country really starting to get worried about this. But the question that we keep coming back to, the politicos in the United States, is who are the Democrats going to run? It's probably not going to be Joe Biden, but their bench is so shallow right now. I mean, they just have a bunch of duds. Kamala Harris, she didn't even make it to her home state of California in the primaries last time. Pete Buttigieg is totally unlikable and has no experience. Gavin Newsom has been a total failure in California, so it's just unclear who their next star is going to be. But it's not Joe Biden. He's got to move to the side.
Indeed. Well, he's got to get the midterms out of the way first, and we'll talk about that next week, I think. But just one other issue, a hot button issue that was raised in one of his media performances. He did a presidential forum with a range of people, and one of those was a transgender activist. And this is an issue, transgender issues obviously creating a lot of controversy in the United States as they are here. Let's have a look at this exchange.
Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
I don't think any state or anybody should have the right to do that. So I feel very, very strongly that you should have every single solitary right, including use of your gender identity bathrooms in public.
Thank you.
This is such a difficult argument, but people have strong views, understandably. This idea that people can use the toilets according to what gender they see themselves as, rather than considering their actual biological sex. Has that created much of a backlash in the US so far?
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw a poll today, Chris, that shows 80% of Americans are against transgender surgeries for minors or any kind of transition therapy for minors. And that includes the majority of Democrats as well. But when you go on Twitter and you read the blue check marks and you read the establishment media, they're pushing hard for this. They want gender ideology in the classrooms of young children. They want to offer transition surgeries for increasingly young children. But it is just not popular when you look at the general public. So this is going to backfire spectacularly on the Democrats. And it's just mind-blowing to see the president of the United States sitting up there saying these really extreme things. Like 10 years ago, if you had told any American that this would be a big conversation in the United States, they would never have believed you. It just was something that was not really an issue at all. Nobody even really knew what it was to be a transgender. And now this issue has just really become big because the media has blown it up so much. But they're out of step with the general public, who sees this as insulting to women. And in many cases, like, womanhood is being used as a costume. It's insulting. So I just think this will backfire on them.
Kristin, good to talk to you again. Catch you next week.
Always great to be with you, Chris.